Hello everyone, it's Southpaw again, and I'm back with another role-playing type tutorial, or it's less of a tutorial, this one is. It's more of just an original series. Um, this actually may not be original, but I have had this idea. I don't really think I've seen any on YouTube, so I just decided to go ahead and try it. And I think I'm going to be, what this is going to be about is going to be about creating a role-playing game. So, I've always noticed that 4th edition and some of the D&D versions, I have things that aren't necessarily logical or really realistic, and I like realism in games. So I've decided to actually try to create a role-playing game that's kind of like I don't want to say an advanced D&D because it's kind of got some inspiration from World of Warcraft, a couple of other things. So like Dark Souls and certain RPGs. And I'm just kind of combining a bunch of stuff together, and I'm trying to make a very solid gaming system that isn't too complicated. So the first thing the thing that I've came up with. Okay, these are kind of the things that I should be are the main part of the game. Okay, so races and classes are the two main ones I'm going to be talking about today that I've actually already decided on. I'm almost completely decided on these, and basically the base races are dwarf, elf, human, giant, and halfling. Okay, so you can have a dwarf, but they have no they have no subrace whatsoever. Elves can either be drow or wood elves. Humans, I'm thinking about adding different specializations, like different subraces for them, but it would have to be faction based, and I don't really know if I want to do that. For giants, you can be an ogre, a golem, or a giant, but I'm pretty sure anything that's a monster is going to be half. So it'd be so half you have a choice between half ogre and half golem. When it comes to like halves and stuff, you could make a half orc, but I'm considering not allowing it. I don't know. I don't know if orcs are like. I'm also considering removing ogre, to be honest, because ogres and orcs are kind of savage, so you can't really keep I mean, they won't be the most intelligent, so I don't think they should actually be able to be made. But we'll see. And then last but not least, so I may change mine up a bit, but last but not least, it's halflings, which halflings are considered gnomes or hobbits, and I just classified them under anything that's pretty much small. So gnomes are a little more fey type creatures, and hobbits are more human, like small humans, except for a little more dexterous. Now, the classes that I've come up with so far are healer, rogue, fighter, and mage. And since there's a lot of things that can be classified under that, so basically, I don't want it to end up to where we have to have like a DPS, a healer, and a tank. I don't want that to happen. That gets kind of annoying. So I'm going to try to make as much as possible to minimize that. So I'll try as much as possible to minimize that. So for healers, you have a priest, a cleric, or a paladin. So let me explain this real quickly. The difference between a priest and a cleric, a priest is more of if you think of it like a mage type healer. So they have holy spells that they cast down. Now, the thing is, they don't really have to get a sub level for mage. Speaking of which, I actually didn't add the sub levels for mage yet, but I can add that during this video. But I may make those a subclass of mage, not a subclass of mage, but a combination like paladin, because that'd be kind of interesting. I also may make cutthroat here a fighter hybrid. We'll see. So priest, basically like a robe wearing, staff wielding, holy mage. Also has good healing. Cleric is like a tank healer with so basically they wield maces, a shield. They can have up to plate, and they heal quite a large amount, just like priests. And then there's the paladin, which is a hybrid healer fighter, and you have to have at least one level in each to get to it. And then, which I'll figure out the leveling system later, like how you can have certain specifics on each class, but that's later. And then for rogue, subclass, assassin, self-explanatory. It's an assassin. Honestly, they have better weapon skill. They're meant for killing. Cutthroat, it's kind of like, think of your everyday bandit on the road, okay? It's not like a thief, because thieves are a little more sneaky and subtle. Cutthroats will literally straight out challenge them. They're like a dexterous fighter. So I'm actually going to make that a subclass. Must have fighter level. Okay, so, wait. No, wait. must have. Okay, so these guys so cutthroats are going to be either must have ranger slash warrior levels. So you have to have at least one of those. So you could be like a ranger type cutthroat, which is more of a dexterous fighter, or a warrior type fighter, a warrior type cutthroat. And then last but not least, the thief. The thief is basically like pickpocketing, a little bit of assassination skills, but not as much. Less straight up fighting, more backstabbing, and really, really good at detecting traps. Okay, so they're a little more intellectual type rogue. Then last, fighter. And fighters are rangers, which is bows, dual wielding, etc. That's ranger. Paladins are, you know what a paladin is, it's pretty self-explanatory. And warriors, which warriors are your base. Like warriors could wield pretty much anything besides bows. They're not really bow type fighters. They're like spears, javelins, two-handed axes, long swords, two-handed swords, things like that. Just like pretty much anything that's really like in the thick of it, and they can wear any type of armor that they want. And what I think I'm gonna do. Trying to think here. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and do this really quickly. Mage subclasses. I'm gonna say element. Okay, let's do an elementalist. And I'm thinking about doing a shaman, which would be kind of like but I mean, I don't know. Shamans would be kind of weird, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. Elementalist, warlock. Elementalist, warlock. Elementalist is kind of like your everyday wizard, so I think a sorcerer would be more of a like sorcerer. Okay. So Elementalist, warlock, sorcerer. Okay, and also priest. Let's do this. So must have healer. Priest. There we go. So that's kind of my idea. This is the basis for all the classes that I'm going to be doing. There's going to be more added. I don't want it to be too complicated, so I'm going to keep the subclasses to a minimum. There's going to be a couple of, like, what I plan on. You know how, like, all these big classes that require multiple? Oh, yeah, one more as well. Druid is going to be an awesome dad bard. Okay, so Druid is going to be a healer levels, as well as mage levels, like a priest. So you have to have a mage and a healer, and once you do that, you can choose between priest or druid to specialize in. That'll be kind of the way it works. And then bards will be, I want to say bards will be like a roguish type character with a mixture of healer. But he won't really heal as much as he'll buff, so maybe I should name this class support. Let's name it support. So that way I can actually be pretty like free on what I put in that section, because I can't just, because I don't want a bard to be a healer. I don't think that should be the case. So a lot of things require healer levels, actually. I mean, support levels. Okay, so assassins, elementals, and then I'm gonna do something that I'm gonna call Spellblade. This thing it's basically like it's a warrior wizard. So must have. It has to be, and it specifically has to be a warrior. And then there's also, okay, these are just the multi-class options as well. Also inside the game, I'm going to have levels that extend from each. So if you're just going to go pure warrior, you have the options later to turn into a barbarian or a knight, things like that. So it'll be a little more it'll be interesting for say. I can't really describe what I'm kind of picturing, but it'll be like that. It'll definitely have like straight down pure subclasses. The other mixture classes are just kind of in there. I don't know. See, the thing is, I want a bard. I can't think. I don't know why I would. I want a bard to be less roguey though, but I can't make it a fighter because if it was a fighter, then it would have ridiculous gear, and I don't want that to happen. So I think I'm just gonna keep it with rogue. I may make it a ranger spec though, like a ranger slash support spec. Okay, and then this is the other idea. This is the last idea I have. Stats. I'm doing D&D stats for this. Okay, so it's gonna be strength, dex, intelligence, constitution, charisma, and wisdom. You can assume what all of them do, except for I'm gonna scale it like this. There's gonna be the only people with powers in this game are gonna be mages. Okay, mages and spellcasters. Powers aren't meant to be for fighters. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have certain, let's say, so fighters and stuff, they're gonna have to use basic attacks very often. And it's by the DM's discretion, like in first edition, like in second edition. It will be very specific. Like, there's gonna be no powers for like melee, like fighting type characters. And then, because spells are meant for mages. And then also the other thing that another part of the system of this game is spells are gonna be memorized nightly after our extended rest, and when you can only memorize so many. And early level casters are not going to be very powerful. Casters are like the Elementalist from levels like 1, the Elementalist, Warlock, and Sorcerer are all going to be very, very weak until they get like level 3, so they start building up spells. And as soon as they start memorizing like 5, 6, 7 spells a night, and they start reinscribing spells, which is my system for like being able to inscribe multiple spells based on how many hours you get of sleep. So I'll completely figure that out later. Oh, I also want to add one more, actually. Monk. And Monk will be kind of interesting, actually. I'm thinking about, I have multiple ideas for the Monk. I'm considering either putting it like a DDO, which is if you guys have ever played Dungeons & Dragons Online, like the MMO type game, then that type of Monk is like a minor healer, very minor healer, or heavy DPS or tank. I don't know. I may just make it. I'm considering making it a ranger slash warrior, or I could also make it a ranger slash healer. I mean support type character. I don't know, like a ranger priest in a way. Because if you think about it, like monks are most monks are actually monks of religion. So you could supports. That would make sense. So you'd have to classify into priest. So you'd have to go. What you'd have to do is you'd have to start off, basically. Actually, I just thought of a really weird thing here. So, okay, so in order to have a priest, you're gonna have to choose cleric. I need to figure out the level 1 for everything. So if someone's gonna try to specify into priest, what are they gonna put their first level into? So, I don't know, actually. So let's say a priest is a cleric. The clerics wear heavy armor. But never mind. I'll go cleric. I'll say cleric slash elementalist will be a priest. I'll completely sort this out later because I think that may be an issue. Or you could just say when you're doing sub levels, you just say mage 1, support 1, and that would be a priest. I think that would work, actually. Yeah, so your first, at level 1, you'd be a support level 1, which would be very, like, since you're trying to, like, hybrid class, you'd have very generic skills. Like, a support would have, like, a minor heal, a small strength buff, things like that. And then, okay, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll brainstorm a little bit more and update you guys on what I have. Any ideas that you guys might want to add into it, please comment about that. I'm completely open. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about it. And have a good day, and I hope I figure out this whole subclass system, because I think it's going to be cool.